We can trace back all these issues back to the French and the British and back in the World Wars and Sykes-Picot Agreement of dividing up Palestine and the Zionism and all that. But somebody interestingly mentioned, it takes 3 generations to forget about a conflict. Has it been 3 generations yet? Probably not yet.
No.
Yeah, because the wounds are fresh, and either you're one of the families whose kid got killed in the October 7th attack, or one of the Gazan families that got in the way of the Israeli army attack. You think they're going to forget about these things?
Gotta be there. I'm losing my cool. I'm on the edge. Something's taking over me. I'm gonna be down on my knees. You know I'm ready for this. You keep me begging for this.
This is the Ocio Show with Rahul, where I have deep conversations with interesting people on topics that are meaningful, slightly personal, and perhaps controversial.
Roll with this. I could do this all day. I could do this all day. Back up, I'ma run this town. I'm headed for the top and you know it's going down.
California is one of those very employee-friendly states. So has it been, like, in your experience, difficult to be an employer here to, cross all the T's and dot all the I's with respect to employees and contractors?
So absolutely. First of all, this whole thing about employees and contractors, if I put myself in the employer's shoes, is very frustrating. The government, the law here doesn't allow me to hire contractors, even if my workers want and prefer to be contractors. So
This is the AB5 Uber driver dispute that's coming up again.
Exactly. And there's a lot of modifications, there's a lot of lobbying going on to make exceptions. But generally the fact that you cannot be a contractor even if you want to, along with some strange overtime laws and maybe even minimum wage. Some people argue, why do we even have minimum wage? So there are a lot of restrictions on freedoms.
I can hire a contractor, right, in my business in California?
Well, because you have this ABC rule, most people would not fall into that rule.
What's the rule generally that you cannot hire a contractor?
So the general rule is, in order for your worker to be properly classified as a contractor, where you can pay them by W-9 and not through W-2, there's an ABC test. They have to satisfy 3 requirements. One of them is that you should not be controlling the manner of their work, when they work, their schedule. That's the first one. And the second one is that they cannot be an extension of your business. For example, if you have a recruiting company, your recruiters cannot be your contractors because they are
the core part of your job.
Your copy machine maintenance person can be a contractor because his job has nothing to do with the recruiting. There's a third element which I'm not going to get into, but this second element is nearly impossible to satisfy for most businesses. So if you have a trucking company and you have a bunch of truck drivers, they're an extension of your business.
Yeah, and also if you're, let's say, a tutoring company and you have a bunch of freelance tutors coming in, is that a...
You tell me. Unless there's an exception, how could they possibly not be an extension of your business?
Which also, it's actually detrimental to the workers too, I believe, right? In some capacity. I understand why they've done it, to protect the workers, but the very rule that's protecting the workers sometimes is harming them too. Just to make the case clear, there were a lot of firings by the county or the city or other agencies that because the fact that the employees were not vaccinated and they refused to vaccinate.
Both private and public employers did this, right? Some were more strict about than others. But yes, hundreds of city and county of San Francisco employees were terminated after all of their religious exemption requests were denied. I represent 12 or 13 of them right now.
Is that a class action or is that still separate cases?
So mine are separate cases. There are a couple of class actions going on at the same time. All of these cases are consolidated. I'm cautiously optimistic that something good will eventually come out of it. But I feel very strongly, and I don't think there's ever been in my lifetime a more important and more significant mission in terms of employee rights.
And what were these religious exemptions that people got for vaccines?
The city has a policy, like most employers should, that under Title VII and under Fair Employment and Housing Act, you have the right to an accommodation for your religion. You have many employees with the city, especially black and brown employees who are devout Christians. And for the same reasons that they cite from the Bible, they requested an exemption from being vaccinated. Many of them work in the field alone. Many of them worked throughout the whole time before the vaccines came about, and they wore masks, maybe they tested, so they requested an exemption, and almost all of them, or nearly all of them, were fired after a long career with the city. Somebody accuses someone else at work of whatever, harassment. It could be sexual, it could be threat of violence. Oh, he hit me, or he told me something inappropriate. And then the person who is being accused, the employee or the manager who is being accused, says, this never happened. I didn't do any of that. The employer has to decide who to believe. It's so much easier and it's so much safer to believe the accuser than give the accused the second chance and then later deal with the attack from a lawyer of, oh, you knew that this person is capable of doing this and that, and you allow them to continue working here. So the frustration comes from people who are being fired or disciplined, but usually fired for being accused of something. They have no due process rights if they work for a private company. They're completely at a mercy of an employer, and there's nothing I can do to help. There's this idea that if you have criminal history, if you did some bad things in the past, DUIs, then the jury is not going to like you and that you're not going to get anything out of them. And that case turned out to be surprisingly well for me. The jury awarded significant amount to the plaintiff. And this was a reminder to me that you can never look at a person like that, just, oh, one thing, he has this conviction, jury is not going to like him. You got to look at the whole picture. Does it come across as likable right now, today, in front of the jury? Does it come across as a person who is genuine, who has really been injured? Or is he full of himself and he's entitled?
Or is conning the system.
Conning the system, things that the world owes him. If the jury doesn't like you right then and there, if they're annoyed by you, if they find you obnoxious and entitled, it's going to be very hard for them to give you money. But if you come across as a nice person, hardworking person who doesn't exaggerate what happened to him, despite your past, they can overlook the past and treat you fairly.
Yeah, Americans are very forgiving that way, you know.
Especially if you recognize. We don't see enough sorries. We don't see enough remorse.
Yeah, it's a whole Christian nation and concept too, where redemption is rewarded in America.
Politicians don't apologize enough. Boyfriends and girlfriends don't apologize enough. Employees and their managers don't apologize enough. Make apology great again.
But I think, especially on the employee side, that would lead them to a lot of legal trouble. So they'll record the apology and take you to court. Huh?
That's true too. I do think that Israel is a one-of-a-kind place with one-of-a-kind vibe, one-of-a-kind energy, and a unique one-of-a-kind combination of an amazing beach, amazing nightlife, an amount of good-looking young people everywhere, one-of-a-kind food, one-of-a-kind concerts, parties, whether it's trance parties, whether it's Arabic parties, and there's so much good. The media only shows 10% of the bad and the awful, but there's so much good. Is it a cheap place? No. It's Jews. It's not going to be cheap, right? So it's an expensive place. You have to spend a lot of money, but it's still on my top list.
You have friends and family living. How's life there as a commoner?
I think life is difficult. It's expensive. It's stressful, not only because of the politics, but, you know, people are pushy. They're not the sweetest people in the world. You do have to push your way through to get things done. Yeah, there is a lot of hustle and bustle. As a tourist, you enjoy the vibrance, but I'm sure that along with very hot and humid weather in summer, the cost of living, the politics, it gets stressful and tiring, I'm sure.
With all of the stuff going on and you being a Russian, Israeli, American citizen, what do you make of the conflict that's happening in Israel and Gaza right now?
You know, for me, it's very painful conflict for a very specific reason. I find that region to be, and the people to be so uniquely amazing. For that region to have so much to offer, so much warmth, so much hospitality, so much kindness, so many amazing, from food and shisha to music, and there's so much flavor to that place. And the fact that all this is going on there is particularly painful. There are different ways to look at it. You can call it terrorism, extremism. You can call it genocide and oppression of the people who have been occupied for a long time. Someone very knowledgeable yesterday, who I spoke with yesterday, who came from Bahrain, reduced it all to money. Take away the money from people who cause problems, and the problems will stop. Maybe they have a point. I do want to say that at least Israelis are very open-minded. They understand different perspectives. They understand that more than one thing can be true at the same time. There could be some injustices toward Palestinians that need to be addressed. And there's also horrible atrocities that have been committed toward Israel for many years, culminating with October 7. I just wish it resolved. And it's been going for too long, and I hope that America will show that it's a superpower by taking charge and fixing it once and for all.
Trace back all these issues back to the French and the British, and back in the World Wars and Sykes-Picot Agreement of dividing up Palestine and the Zionism and all that. But somebody interestingly mentioned, it takes 3 generations to forget about a conflict. Apparently, like the ones who came to Israel in 1940, whenever the independence was. Has it been 3 generations yet? Probably not yet.
No.
Yeah, because the wounds are fresh, and imagine either you're one of the families whose kid or got killed in the October 7th attack, or one of the Gazan families that got in the way of the Israeli army attack. Do you think they're going to forget about these things and move on?
I think they will move on faster than you can imagine if this conflict stops being fueled by extremists and by injection of money. If you notice, even in San Francisco, every movement, every protest is not organic, it's fueled outside influence, outside money. Why is it that we have protests for Gaza and not protests for Ukraine, for Syria, even for Lebanon? I saw a protest, Gaza-related protest the other day. Not a single sign about Lebanon. People are dying there right now from Israeli attacks on Hezbollah. Nothing. You only see protests when they're being paid for. That's the reality. And the same
who do
with
you think
conflicts.
is paying this?
Many people blame George Soros. If it's not him, it's people like him. Maybe it's an outside, maybe Qataris, maybe Iran. They're interested in causing unrest and showing that the world is against Israel. There is no way that the people who live near encampments, homeless encampments, for decades, near an open drug market, and they never make any noise about it. There is no way that on their own they were organized and come out and marching on Market Street screaming globalize intifada. There's just no chance.
With your ties to, Russia, being born there, what do you make of the Russia-Ukraine conflict right now?
It's time to put an end to it. As we know, this is completely unforgivable, by the way, for America to continue to drag this along and to fuel this war when we all know that a deal could have been made 2 months into this war, and the NATO agreements have been violated by America, and America was pushing Russia toward this. And unless it's all for military-industrial complex, it's completely unforgivable. You bring everyone to the table, just like at a divorce court. Ukraine will have to give up significant land. In exchange, they will get some protections and some security guarantees. Russia will have to make some concessions too. I think both sides are ready to make these concessions. The people are ready to make these concessions. Just gotta stop fueling this with money and with weapons. You're never gonna get back to before the conflict. Russia is not going to give back land that they conquered with the blood of their soldiers. They're going to give some of it, not all of it.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? They're probably going to go back to the 2014 Crimea. Now, earlier they were not super gung-ho about Crimea. Now they want the Crimea back too.
The world should forget about Crimea. It's not going back to anybody, no matter what. The world should forget about Donetsk and Luhansk, those republics that already declared independence. The longer you wait, the more Russia advances, the harder it will be to negotiate with Russia, and understandably so.
What do you think is going to happen with the new election and new sort of government? And I think, White House, Congress.
I'm very optimistic that there's going to be change, because we need change, even if the Trump administration ends one war, let alone 2 wars. Because we know exactly what would have happened. If Harris was elected, the same thing would be going on. More money, more war, more people dying in Ukraine and Russia. If they can just finish that one thing alone, I would be happy. My vote didn't go for nothing. And there are some competent people. I don't mind if billionaires, for a change, take charge, and if highly accomplished people take charge, not because of the color of their skin, but because of how much they accomplished. Let's see what they can make happen.
What are you most skeptical about that won't happen, let's say, in this administration?
I'm always skeptical about people who are overselling. Someone like Trump comes up and says, within 24 hours, I'm going to do
I'm going
all
to build a
of this.
wall in 36 hours.
I'm going to deport 12 million people.
You
Really?
think that's going to happen?
Really? Come on. I'm going to do all this. If you're over-promising, make unrealistic promises, this makes me question everything. I'm hoping that he's going to do a few of the very important and very significant things, and it's going to make his presidency worth it, despite all the drama and all the circus that we surely are going to see.